Hi, I'm Marcy, and this is my family. Well, some of our family, at least. This is our home in the town we live in, which is adjacent to Walt Disney World. It's called Celebration, Florida. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in Celebration, Florida, the town that Disney built? Well, come along with me as we live, work, and play next to the happiest place on earth. Welcome to the Celebration Diaries. Well, hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome to the very first video of the Celebration Diaries. You might be wondering, what is celebration? You may never have heard of celebration. I am here in Celebration, Florida, where we live, work, and play. Celebration, Florida is a town near Walt Disney World. It was actually a town built by Walt Disney World. And over the years, my husband have lived here and I have lived here for about 15, 16 years total. We were here from I was here from 2001 when I met my husband, and was here for about 8 years. And we had to move away for family obligations. And no place we ever lived was like Celebration. So as soon as we could, we were able to make that transition back. You better believe we did. And I've told everyone I'm never moving again. I think we all say that every time we move, don't we? But I really mean it, because I'm not leaving Celebration. I've lived a lot of places, and I've traveled, and I've been a lot of places. And to me, this is home. And you know they say, there is no place like home. There really isn't, and Celebration is my home. This town has always had my heart from the first time I came here. I moved to Central Florida in 1996 from a small town just outside of Chicago in Northwest Indiana. And I'm a nurse, so I got a job at what was then called Florida Hospital. And I was living in Altamont Springs, really nice place up north of Orlando. I loved it up there. Altamont Mall, Lake Mary. The whole area was just a great area to live and have a good time, especially as a young person. I'm close to Orlando and the nightlife, and I could go out with my friends after work. I was 23 and a half when I moved here. So, of course, young nurse, new town, we had a blast. And Florida Hospital was an amazing company to work for, I will say. It is now known as the Advent healthcare system. And I remember in 1996, I was sitting in orientation. The orientation that you went to, and you stayed all day in an all-day classroom, and you learned the history of the company, the philosophy, and it was led by a teaching person at the hospital. And, and then you went maybe and met your leader in your unit and for the second half of the day, and, the big orientation that you do when you start a new job. So we were there in orientation and having just a fine day. I remember some of the higher ups came in, and to the lady that was teaching the orientation, they were so excited and they rushed in with big news. You could just tell there was big news coming off their lips. And they were so excited. They were all so excited. And I was like, what must be happening, some big news in the area. And lo and behold, the big news was they had just gotten the bid to be the official hospital in Disney's new town of Celebration. So when the higher ups left the room, we were all like, what did they say? Do tell. And she said, they told me I could announce it. It's official. It's even going to be hitting the news tonight. We've been chosen as the official hospital. We're going to break ground. We're going to build a hospital in Disney's town of Celebration. And I had just moved here. I had just started my new job up in Altamont Springs. And I said, what's Celebration? I knew what Disney was, of course. I was looking forward to going to Disney many, many times living in Central Florida. And she said, oh, you haven't heard of Celebration? That's the town Disney's building right outside the gates of Walt Disney World. And I thought, Disney's building a town? How amazing that must be. And a town that you can actually live in, like with houses? And she said, yes, with a downtown and stores and houses and a school and a church and all the things a person would want in a town. And I just couldn't even imagine. So you can bet what I did on my next day off. I found out where Celebration was being built on that day in late August of 1996. And I took a drive from Altamont Springs down to Celebration, Florida. And even though it was many, many dirt roads being put in and just 3 model homes, I remember as you drove into town, some homes being built in different parts of the downtown area, and the downtown was in with a couple restaurants, a couple shops, and there were apartments over the shops in the downtown at that time, which are now condos, which people purchased, and you can still buy them when they come up for sale. And I looked around, I went to the visitor center. They had a model, one of those big 3D models spread out in front of you on a big table, and a map that showed what it was going to be, all the trails, the nature preserve, the philosophy of the town, the living, working, worshiping, playing, family, education, all these things incorporated into this perfect idyllic town that Walt Disney actually first imagined when he started planning what would be the vision he had for Epcot. Epcot was the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And if you go on the People Mover at Magic Kingdom, you'll see one of those tabletop 3D miniature construction models of what he envisioned his city might be. There's a church, there's housing, there's transportation. I think there's kind of a monorail transport in there, which we do not have a monorail here in Celebration. Actually, don't know why we would. There's no need for it. But we do have a back road that leads you straight to the gates, straight to the entrance of Disney. So that's very nice to have access to. We don't have to get out on even 192 to get to Disney. 192 being one of the main roads that takes you into Disney. So that's where I first saw it. And, I looked around and I just fell in love with the town. And I said, this is it. This is all American, Norman Rockwell, everything I would love in a traditional, all American town. Neo-traditional type houses, beautiful architecture, so well thought out, planned, displayed. I was like, if I can live here one day, that would be my dream. So I went on with my life. It was just being built. There weren't a lot of options to live. I had my place up in Altamont and my brand new job. So I wasn't really in a position to just, let me just move, I waited a couple years and around that time, my dear friend and her family from the same town we grew up in together, and we'd been friends since we were young girls, her and her family moved here. They came and stayed with me. They were looking for where they were wanted to live. And they drove here and there all day. Well, I went to work and did my thing, and they were looking at houses and places they would live in Central Florida because they were relocating to Florida. I said, yeah, check out Celebration. They did. And they picked Celebration of all places. Well, I tell you what, once my best friend moved there, I said, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? I have to go. So I went ahead and sold my house, and I had bought a house by then, and I just went ahead and sold it. And things fell into place so fast for me. I said, I'm moving to Celebration. Sold that house. I put it on the market one day by owner. And a lady walked up to the door. Can I see your house? I was like, it was an older woman. I said, well, sure. I said, for sale by owner in the yard. I hadn't even advertised it. I hadn't even put it in the newspaper because back then there was, more newspaper advertising than internet. And she came up to the door just driving by. And she said, I'm looking for a house in Central Florida. I'm moving here from Michigan. And I remember she looked around and took a look, and she said, I'm going to give you earnest money, a check. And she made me an offer, and she said, and I'm a cash buyer. And I thought, if this isn't meant to be, I don't know what is. And I don't even think it took us 10, 11 days to close. We had a closing date. She was moving from Michigan. She was ready to go. She'd sold her place, and boy, was I ready to go. So I quickly found myself a place over here in Celebration and made the move. And I was so happy here for almost a decade, and met my husband, my now husband, which we've still been married over 20 years. And I lived here for a long time with him. And then, like I said, different family obligations. We did make a move out of town. We moved to a really nice neo-traditional community east of 192, going toward Melbourne Beach, called Harmony. Really wonderful community. I will give it that. Very wonderful. And we met some of the dearest friends that we've ever had in our whole life that we're still friends with, which I love. So that was meant to be as well, because I never would have met them if the move wouldn't have taken us there. After a few years, life changes and family situations change. And you know what? We made our way back over here. It took us a while to find a house that we could buy, within our price range and the area we wanted, and that, didn't need maybe too much remodeling or this or that, all the things we wanted. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but just enough to where we could get in. And we made our way back here, and living here, so many friends reach out and what's it like and how is it, and even people, at work will ask, what's it like living, in a town that Disney built? And I mean, to me, it's wonderful. It's beautiful, first of all. Beautiful. It's more and more established now that it's been around since 1996. We're getting ready to celebrate our 30th anniversary this coming November in 2026. And getting to see all the changes through the years, yet so much of it remains the same. I mean, not many places you could go and say that. I walk through the town, and it literally puts its arms around me. And so I drive into town and see my house, and it hugs me and says, welcome home. You just feel that energy, that love, that safety. To me, that is everything I ever wanted in the perfect place to live. Not to mention all the fun there is to have here and all the fun people we've met. There's a special group of people who commiserate and who are attracted to a community like this. Fun-loving people. I'm sure there's people here, maybe somewhere, that aren't fun-loving. I haven't met them yet, thank goodness. If I do, I'll steer clear. I like fun people, so maybe I attract those types. I try to find them everywhere I go. And where I go every day, I'll try to take you along the way, little by little, inch by inch. Not everywhere probably, but almost everywhere. And I hope you enjoy it. So that's why I'm calling this video vlog, The Celebration Diaries, and I hope you enjoy joining me and my family as we live, work, and play here in Celebration, Florida. If you've ever wondered what it's like here, you're about to find out. I'm going to take you along on lots of adventures, lots of festivals. You're going to get to know things in my life, the things I love to do, which I think is what a lot of people love to do. Decorating. My husband's a professional chef. We love cooking. I think you're going to really enjoy cooking videos with him when we do those. Anytime I get a shopping haul, you might get to see some unboxing and unveiling. I'll be doing that. And I'll also take you around through town for the different seasons, the different holidays. Boy, do they do it up big. Every night at 9 or 10 o'clock, you're not going to hear just one set of fireworks. You might hear theme park fireworks from a couple of theme parks. And speaking of theme parks, we'll definitely be taking you to theme parks because that's our backyard. Our backyard, just a few minutes away, is Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, not to mention the 2 water parks and all the other resorts that are out there just at Walt Disney World. And we also love SeaWorld and Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Epic Universe too. We have all this within such a short radius of our home. I'm going to take you with, friends. So when something new pops up, new and exciting, festivals at the parks or, rides or attractions that we might get sneak peeks on, I'll be taking you with. And I'll be taking you through the history of some of it, trying to show you the history of Celebration. The architecture is amazing. How they went, not only throughout the United States, and imagined what this section of town, especially like where we live, would look like Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, and other areas of the country. But not only that, different parts of the world. It might even be the canals of Amsterdam, or the canal on Water Street, which has 2 bridges and leads to the downtown, was designed by an architect to look like the Amsterdam canals. So where in the world, maybe you might see that, I don't know, but I don't know anywhere in the world I've been too often that I've seen a town so developed with that artistic type feature in mind, let alone the civil engineering aspect of it. So I'll take you along and show you some of this, tell you about some of the history. I'll take you to parties and friends' houses, and you'll get to see the holiday home tour. And when we travel, we just got back from New York City. Thanksgiving, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We spent a week there for Thanksgiving, our whole family. And I filmed a lot, so I'll be editing those videos and putting those online. It was a first for me, a bucket list trip. I always wanted to do that. I was always one of those people that watched the parade on Thanksgiving and said, oh, I wish I could be there, but it looks so cold or it looks so crowded. Where would you go to the bathroom? What would you do? Well, we figured it out, and we did it the best way I think you can possibly do it. So I'll be showing you those things and other trips that we take over the years. And I really, really hope you enjoy following us along. And I hope you've enjoyed this first video. I'm going to be showing you a lot out of this Celebration book. This was one of the very first books that they put out about our town, and this will tell us a lot. I can go little by little through the architecture of the homes. I won't bore you, I promise. I'll just hit the really interesting points because it's in here, trust me. So I'll keep a lot of it factual and interesting and tell you a lot about it. We have our son who goes to school here, so we have insight into a little bit what the younger people are doing and what they're up to here in town and all the activities they have for the adolescents, the young littles, and just going to be, I think, a really exciting time for all of us. So I hope you'll enjoy and follow along with us. week after week as I post different videos. I'm trying to do at least one a week. So maybe look forward to watching on your weekends and catching up with what's going on in Celebration, Florida that week. One thing you won't get, you're not going to get negativity. You're not going to get me complaining, running something or someone down. I'm just not that type. I am a glass half full. I'm a glass totally full, running over, overflowing person. I'm not even a half full. It's all the way to the top. I just have that in me. I love to encourage and inspire people. When I find something new and inspiring, I like to pass it along. To me, there's more than enough goodness and good things to go around. So I spread the good news wherever I can. So one thing you will get is a lot of positivity and happiness while you watch our vlog. So I hope you enjoy it. And I thank you for staying with me this long. Carry on. Keep watching. There's more to come. Thank you so much.
And if you want to stay up to date with the
soon.
Celebration Diaries and living in celebration and our family's life here between work and play and Disney, like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to make a wish, and may all your dreams come true.